Liars, liars, liars. Says one David Lampe that agents are liars. This is Book Talk, and I'm your host, Anthony Murode. At Book Talk, we get to have authors come and tell us about their books. And always we have interesting and wonderful guests and interesting books. And that means that even today, we have an interesting guest with an interesting book. So, without much ado, please join me as we go and meet our guest today, David Lampe. Here we go. Hello, David.
Hello, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome to Book Talk.
Thank you. It's great to
And
be
thank,
here.
and thank you for coming. Now, we have David with us here. And who is David, just to get us started?
Well, I am a real estate agent in the Metro Denver area. I've been an agent for almost 14 years right now.
Mhm.
And I basically wrote this book from what I've seen in the real estate industry and the lies I've seen in the real estate industry that other agents tell.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, we would love to know about it so that we can always be careful when we are going for some to buy a house, to buy an estate, or anything in that case. Now, let's all know where it all started, and not with the real estate. Where it started with your writing. Did you start writing at when you are just born? Because some of us tell us, "Oh, we I started writing by the time I knew how to read."
Well, yeah, I guess a long time ago when I was a kid, I used to write some like short little stories, things. My mom actually saved one of those that she gave me recently. She found in a box, and it was like the Red Door or something, I think it was called, or something like that. And so, yeah, I started writing some things like that a long time ago.
Yes, and is this your first book, or have you written other books?
This is my first book.
Okay, and what triggered it? Curious to know.
Well, I had been frustrated with, the lies I see that real estate agents use, primarily to get clients, and just the dishonesty in our industry. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, and finally, earlier in 2022, like about a year ago, I really started thinking about I really want to write a book, and I began writing it in spring of last year. Just started writing an outline and that kind of thing. So.
And what is the aim now? You were curious. You were moved by what the lies that were being told out there, and now you want to bring it to the light, the lies that have been told. What is the main aim of doing it?
Basically to help people learn these lies so that they can learn to spot the lies and avoid them and avoid agents that are using these lies, and hopefully save them a lot of money and a lot of
Mhm.
headache when they buy or sell a home.
Okay, now maybe you can tell us some of the lies, or what would you like to begin with, if not telling us right away the lies?
Yeah. So one of the things that actually made me want to write this book again is about a year ago, or a little more than that, I had a seller contact me about selling her home. And I went over and took a look at her home and gave her a price, that I thought it could sell for. And then I was gonna, getting ready to list it with her. And then she called me up about a week or so later and said she had sent an email out to her HOA and said that she was thinking of selling her home. And of course, an agent who lives in her neighborhood excitedly called her up and said, "I have a buyer for your home." And
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the lies that I use. It's the I have a buyer lie. It's basically where an agent uses this lie to get listings. So they basically lie about a buyer that they have. And so that's what they did. And they told her an exaggerated price for her home as well, about 200,000 more than I had told her her home would sell for. So of course she was really interested in that. There's a buyer waiting right out there who's going to pay her way more than I said. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, that all turned into be a lie, and there was no buyer, and they didn't buy that house for that price. And she ended up, going ahead and listing with them because she had signed a listing agreement with them at that point, and ended up selling it for right around the price I had told her. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of lies. So that's one of the main lies is that I have a buyer lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then another lie actually is related to that is the high price lie. And this is basically where agents go into sellers and tell them any price they want to hear to get the listing, knowing that the house won't sell for that price. And then they'll
Mm-hmm.
make them go through multiple price reductions until they get down to the price the house will actually sell for. And there's a lot of dishonest agents out there using that lie. It's probably the most common lie in real estate. And
Mm-hmm.
sellers, it sounds great to a seller that their house is worth more. But in the long run, it ends up bad for them because a house that sits on the market and goes through multiple price reductions usually sells for a lower price than if they had just priced it right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, I actually have 39 lies I go into detail on. So those are just a couple of them.
39 lies.
Yeah.
On the issue of price, I don't come from the states, and I understand there are different laws in different states. And I've always had this quote from where I come from that the marketplace is comprised of a willing seller and willing buyer. So, such that whatever price I'm going to give you, you don't have to, I mean, it has to be, if we are in agreement with the price that I give you, then that's okay. That's what they say. But is there a law that governs there in your state that this value needs to be? You cannot sell an item, nest, a house, or whatever it is, at a price of your own that is not equivalent to its value. I don't know.
Uh, no, it's basically, it's whatever the market, the buyers that are out there right now, what they are willing to pay for a house, that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
And so, telling someone, a seller, a price higher than that is just dishonest. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say a house, just for round numbers, a house that's worth $1 million,
Mm-hmm.
and going in and telling a seller they can sell it for $1.2 million when they can't, that's not what the market is right now, is dishonest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a way to get the listing, basically, because yeah, it's the buyers that are out there in the market right now that are going to determine what the house is going to sell for.
Okay. So they will determine what the house is going to sell. Now, is there, am I liable to, if now I discover that the price that the agent gave me is way too high from the market rates, am I, can I file, can I just, yeah, can I ask for something?
Yeah, so basically, you could, cancel your listing agreement with that agent.
Okay.
Um, and you could also complain to various places like the state, who, the licensing boards, that kind of thing, the Association of Realtors, if they are a realtor, that
Mm-hmm.
you think they were dishonest in how they got your business, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main recourse that someone would have is, and a lot of people that sign listing agreements with agents don't realize they could get out of that agreement with the agent. They think they're locked in because there's a term of the agreement, but there are ways out of it. So that's what I'd recommend someone do if they realize that's happened to them, that they've been lied to.
Okay. Tell us a bit more of the lies.
Yeah. So another one that is really common here. I've been selling homes in the Metro Denver area for a lower commission than most other agents do for about 5 years. And there's a lot of agents out there that will go in and say that they do a lot more than these low commission agents that are out there. There's a lot of big brokerages even that are advertising a lower commission right now. And a lot of these lower commission agents do a great job and do just as much as these agents who are charging, 3 or 4 times as much. So that's a big lie, and it costs. I mean, that can cost people a lot of money. I recently had a seller who was, in the higher price range, but he saved over $60,000 in commission by going with me versus an agent charging a full commission in our market.
And when you say the commission, high commission and low commission, what does that entail? Is
So
it in percentage or in what?
yeah, so most realtors work on a percentage commission,
Mhm,
and it's negotiable. Although there are agents out there that will try to tell you it's not negotiable, that they have to charge you whatever it is they charge. Let's say a lot of agents in our market charge around 6% total,
mhm.
and then a lot of that is split between the buyer's agent and the listing agent. So that's kind of common. 5 to 7% is pretty common in the whole United States as far as a
Okay.
percentage for a
Mhm.
commission. So if you go with a lower commission agent, you can save quite a bit of money right there. And as long as they do a good job, they a lot of them are doing just as much to market and advertise a home as the agent's charging a lot more.
Okay, I get that. And so the listing, and forgive my innocence because again I said I don't come from the US. So the listing agent is a different one from the selling person, or how do you
Yeah. So
differentiate
in the United States and in several other countries, although I know some countries are different,
it?
there we basically the listing agent gets the listing and then they put
Okay.
it on the multiple listing service, and that attracts the buyers, and then they have their own agents who then the buyer's agent brings the buyer to see the home and then writes an offer to buy the home, and if they are able to close on it, the seller actually pays the commission of that buyer's agent. So it's a
Okay.
little kind of different how it works, and that's been the way it's been in the United States for a few decades now. It used to be different than that, where it was more just sellers agents, and the buyers would come directly to the sellers agent.
Yeah, because that's the model that I have witnessed in several places that I am aware of. So I didn't know that that's the way it works from two different angles.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I kind of like that we have buyer agents in the United States, because then the buyer is represented by someone. If they go directly to the seller's agent, I mean, they have, they want to get the best deal for the seller, the highest price and the best deal for the seller, whereas a buyer's agent wants to get the best deal for the buyer. So it helps with negotiation.
Okay. Now, where I come from, we have rates. I mean, like when you buy the property, there are like you have to have the land. The land comes with the property, but I have experience. I've heard of other places where the property comes alone and the land comes differently. How is it there?
It's typically it's both. You're buying the land, the surface rights to the land, and what's on it, the house,
Yeah.
basically.
Hmm.
We don't here in at least in Colorado, you don't own what's under the land, like oil and gas and gold and silver and that kind of thing, but you own what's the surface
Okay.
of the land, basically.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's a little different in
Okay.
different countries too.
So are there lies that come in that angle? I mean, that are concerned where the places that are located, the rates that, or and again, I know that some properties have some loans and things of that nature. And then are there some instances that the buyer, the seller, the agent will not disclose to the buyer that there is something attached to this property, and then I buy the property and then I have some problems thereafter.
Yeah, that's actually one of the lies too, is just non-disclosure by agents.
Mhm.
So in the United States, at least, the listing agent who's working for the seller needs to disclose anything that they know that's wrong with the house. Like if they know that a structural engineer has looked at it and the foundation is cracking and the house is going to fall down, they need to disclose that. But there are dishonest agents out there who are not disclosing things like that, or for example, like about the mineral rights or the right to that you don't own the ground underneath. Maybe it's a lease, like a land lease or something like that.
Mhm.
And there is a lot of non-disclosure going on, and it's very unethical, I would say. um, and then another big part of my book actually goes into detail about how to find a good agent who
Mhm.
won't lie to you and won't
Mhm.
do these things to you. So
Yeah, it would be good to know that too. Uh, as soon as we clear with some of the most important lies that we should know of, then we are going to head up to the point where we're gonna find the right agent that is going to be fit
Yeah,
for the need.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's that's why I go into detail in the book about all those lies and explain them so that that way people know they can watch out for these. And yeah, we've talked about several of them already. And
Yeah.
another big lie that's out there in our industry is that it's always a great time to buy. Or that prices always go up. That a lot of agents will use those lies because they're like cheerleaders for the industry. Basically, they want to get people to buy a house so that they can make a commission. And it doesn't matter to them if prices are actually going down. They'll say they're going up, for example.
Hmm. Okay. Now, for anyone who's joining us here right now, please know we are talking about the book Agents Are Liars, but by David Lampe. And what your real estate agent doesn't want you to know is what is in the book. All the 36 lies that David has come across, he tells them to you. Now, I've had like there is the property. I own the property, but then I have a generation behind me, so I'm gonna leave this property to someone, my children, or someone that is in my will. How does where do we have some lies inside there of that nature also?
Not really. I mean, I think the biggest thing there is just making sure that you go to an attorney, I think is the main thing, or a lawyer, so that to get everything drawn up correctly. Like don't
Okay.
rely on a real estate agent to plan that stuff out for you. I would say would be the main lie that some of them might say is because really that's more a an attorney type thing.
Mm-hmm. So, if you've been taken advantage of before, this is why we recommend you to get the book. All those who are listening, and have a good plan for the future. So when you're buying an estate, a house, or anything, um, let me ask you, um, if I have what is the range of of the houses in your locality? Because I hear different wild the prices in different places.
Oh, yeah, so our prices have gone up a lot over the past few years. That's a lot of places they have, but our median sales price in the Denver metro area is right about $600,000.
For
So
what 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 kind of house?
that would basically be for, I mean, it depends, on condition and all that stuff, but like a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom house in the suburbs, I'd say is right around that 600,000.
Mhm. So if and again, if someone, because I have all, people who are listening from outside of the state, if someone wanted to buy a house in the states but he's not in the states, does that work out, and how does it go?
It does, yes. Actually, I've worked with some buyers who were not in the country at the time, and we do like a virtual showing, kind of like what we're doing right now,
Hmm.
where I walk around with my phone and show them everything. And I've had them make an offer on a place, sight unseen like that. And then they usually come here for like the inspection and to actually see it in person before they actually would buy the home, which I think is important because it's good to actually see something and walk around it before you really buy it, I would say.
Yeah, is important. But then there are agents that tell them liars. Those who are outside, they show a different. Do they show a different home and then they are selling you a different one?
I
And
haven't
tell
heard of
you,
that one.
you don't have to come here. We'll give you all the details. I mean,
That would be very bad. I
uh,
could I could see it happening, I suppose, but yeah, that would be extremely dishonest. I hope we don't have that in our industry.
okay,
That's
that's good.
that's one reason I would highly recommend anyone would actually go into anything they're actually going to buy in person before they'd sign any papers.
Okay, that's good. And is there a requirement? Like, what's the main requirement for someone who's buying from outside?
Well, I guess, we have more requirements really as far as selling. If you're not like a US citizen for income tax purposes, there's some things about that. As far as buying, there's not a whole lot, although I think it can be a little bit more difficult to get a mortgage if you're not, a U.S. citizen. So it may be more likely it would have to be a cash transaction.
Okay. So agents are liars. You better go and get that book and read all about all the lies that agents tell. But at this point, we want to know from David how to find the correct agent, the one that is not a liar, the one that is going to give you a good deal.
Yeah, so I've
Uh,
got actually two chapters in my book about that. One is how to find the best listing agent or seller's agent, and one that about how to find the best buyer's agent. Now, obviously, that won't apply in all areas, like in your area, because if you don't have buyer agency, but it still is good to read through them, I think. And it talks about basically the main thing, the biggest mistake that I see people making out there is not treating it as a business decision and instead hiring their brother or their friend or their friend's daughter who just got their real estate license. And it's almost like a personal favor they're doing to that person rather than treating it as a business decision. So instead, what I recommend is I have a whole checklist or interview checklist in these chapters, and I recommend interviewing at least 3 to 5 agents, going through this checklist, asking all of them the same questions, and then comparing the agents so that you can find the best one for you. And then also asking for references, even and speaking hopefully to some past clients of theirs. And I think that's the biggest thing is just most people out there, they'll hire the first agent they meet in general. So
mhm.
and that's for both a listing agent and a seller's agent or a buyer's agent. So they have one person come over, look at their home, and they sign the papers and hire them to list the home.
And what could be some of the questions that I should ask?
So some of them have to do with these lies, like what commission do you charge, and is your commission negotiable, that kind of thing regarding that. What experience you have. One thing I think is really good to ask too is why did you get into real estate, and that can lead and ask open-ended questions like that because it'll lead to them talking about how they love real estate and they love helping people buy and sell homes and that kind of thing. So I think that's probably there's a whole list of them. I think I have about 40 questions in there that you can ask, the over and over again, the same different agents, the same questions. And so yeah, I think open-ended questions are great. And then of course, like how many homes have you sold in the past year or two? That kind of thing is of course important as well, and have them show you that. And have they ever sold a home like yours? So for example, if you have a luxury home, which here is defined as like an over $1 million home, basically. Have they ever sold a home over $1 million, or have they ever sold a home that's a condo, or that kind of thing, more apartment building type homes, so I think that that's really important too, or land, because land is a lot different too.
Is there an incidence where you go through a transaction, or rather, it's a sale? It's almost, and when you come to the closing, the figures change. The ones that you had in the beginning, they change all of a sudden.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It kind of the most way that that could happen would be when you're getting a loan and if the lender is changing things on you a little bit. But there are laws about that here, and they have to disclose within a few days of going under contract what your costs will be, and they cannot change that much until the closing. And the cost of the house obviously should not change at all. It's what's in the contract. So.
And when the houses go on listing, do we have some time frames? Like, because if it's going to take a year, then the prices could alter in any direction.
Yeah, so in our contracts here, we actually put deadlines and dates into them. And the typical closing here is about 30 days. So you go under contract and then you close on the house within 30 days.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's fairly quick.
It's quick.
And you want it, yeah, you would want that. You would want an extended, like you said, a year, because yeah, prices could totally change within a year. They could go up or down at that point.
But that is an agreement between who? Between the buyer and and
The
which agent?
buyer and the seller, yeah, will
The
have a
buyer and the
contract.
seller. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not between the agents.
No,
Hmm.
there's a contract between the agents and their whoever they're representing, the seller or the buyer. But
Okay.
then the buyer and the seller have a contract between themselves that defines the price and the terms and the timing and all of that.
Okay. That's good. Good to know that. So, all of you who are listening, today we are dealing with the book. As a reminder, agents are liars. What your real estate agent doesn't want you to know by David Lampe. He's an insider. He knows it. He's giving
Yeah.
he's giving the secrets. Yeah. Mhm.
One other thing I talk about in my book is just about how I think, at least here, and in a lot of places, I think it's too easy to become a real estate agent. I think the requirements should be a little more strict.
Mhm.
We have state licensing here, and you have to pass a test and a background check and all of that, and take education. But I think the requirements should be a little bit more. I mean, that you're hiring somebody to handle one of the largest transactions you'll ever do in your life, and I think you should want them to be experienced and to be to not be a liar basically, and to take good care of you. So I think that's one thing I talk about too, is that it's just too easy and we need to change the requirements a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. And it all starts with one person. So if you can raise that and you set up maybe a campaign to say, hey, we need all the agents to be, their bar of entrance to be raised higher than it is right now. And everybody's going to come and vote and say, yeah, we want it raised. And then,
Yeah,
so
I
that,
think that would be good.
yeah.
And different places have different requirements. Like in Colorado, where I am, we have a little more strict or stringent requirements than some of the other states in the United States. So, and then different countries are different too. So, I think it would be good if it was kind of more across the board, a little bit what's required.
And taxes to do with the real estate. How do they go?
Taxes.
Hmm.
Oh, so for the most part, if it's your primary residence here in the United States, you won't pay taxes because up to 500,000 per couple or 250,000 per person is tax free of gain when you sell a home. So
Hmm.
that's your primary residence. Now, if it's investment property, you do pay capital gains taxes, and it
Okay.
a lot depends on like how long you've owned it and that kind of thing, whether it's short term or long term. But yeah, that's one really great thing about owning real estate is the tax advantages you get.
Okay, so it gives you a higher end when you're owning a real estate.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it's, just buying homes, I think, is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Why, compared to renting, it's so much better to be paying off your mortgage and getting equity in your own home and doing what you want with your own home versus, renting. I mean, I can paint in any color I want and that kind of thing. So there's lots of great advantages to home ownership, I would say.
So get your own house, pay your mortgage, and but before you do that, get the right agent. Don't just go to any of them because David has come many of them who are. He's come across a lot of them who are liars, and then you don't want to.
Yeah. And it's I used a story of that woman that I had met with about selling her home, and she was taken by that "I have a buyer" lie. I
Mm,
think she also ended up using a higher commission agent. I think if she had used me, priced her home correctly from the beginning, she would have made about $50,000 more in the sale to herself. Who she would have netted about $50,000 more, and that's a lot of money
yeah.
than going with this agent who lied to her. So.
Mm. That would be good. So all those who are listening, connect with David. And by the way, how can they connect with you? Those who are listening or watching, and how can they get this book?
So you can visit my website, agentsareliars.com, and I link right there to Amazon to buy the book. And it's actually going to be live tomorrow. Right now, you can pre-order the Kindle version, but the paperback version will be live to order on Amazon tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool. So go to agentsalias.com and pre-order. You've got 24 hours or something like that to get your paperback. But and on Kindle, like the Kindle is going to be also available tomorrow, isn't it?
Yep, it'll be available tomorrow. You can pre-order the Kindle right now, and I have it right now as it's 99 cents through this next weekend.
Oh,
So
go get it. Go rush and get it.
yeah.
Before it rises in price. Right now on launch day, up to launch day, it's going to be 99. So what are you waiting for? Go get it.
Exactly. It's cheap, and if it can
It's cheap.
save you a lot of money, $1 is definitely worth it.
Yeah, definitely. So that's about it. Thank you very much, David, for coming to our show. And I believe that our listeners and our viewers have got something of value in this episode. And definitely, I am convinced that someone is going to get that book.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope some people read it and are able to save themselves a lot of time and money and headaches.
Yeah, it's important. Yes, before we go, as we are nearing the end, we would like you, David, to leave us with a few words that we should always remember based on this book.
I would say the biggest thing really is what I mentioned about treating real estate as a business decision. So it's, don't treat it as a personal decision, and don't go into it with emotion. Try to treat it just as any other business decision that you would do. It's because that's really what it is. I know, when you're selling your house, you love your home. Of course, you've lived there and it's
Mm.
emotional. But if you can take the emotion out and treat it as a business decision, it's going to help you a lot, and you're going to do a lot better with your, not being taken advantage of, and making the most money you can on the sale.
Wow, that's good. Treat it as a business, says David. So that has been it. Today's episode at Book Talk. We had David Lampe with Agents Are Liars. Just to read. Yeah, I repeat that so you always remember. Yeah, Agents Are Liars. And go get the book and read it. And that's about it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we also appreciate you coming and sharing everything that you shared with us at Book Talk. This has
Thank
been Book Talk. I have been your host, Anthony Muirore. And together with David Lampe, we are saying bye for now.
you.
Bye.